What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Close Shave perk in Black Ops 6 to find out all of the details of exactly how this works and whether or not it is worth using. Now this perk is part of the new Black Ops Tribute event, and in order to earn it, you have to get 180,000 XP. And diving into the in-game description for this, it states, automatically use your dedicated melee attack when you perform a weapon butt attack. And this is a red perk, so it contributes toward the Enforcer combat specialty in the tier 1 perk slot. And the description for this is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. However, the devil's in the details here, and that's what we're really going to be diving into today. When using this perk, if you've got your gun out and you try to hit them with the butt of your gun, instead of hitting them with the butt of your gun, you automatically pull out whatever melee weapon is on your class setup in that moment, and that's what you're using for your attack. So it's kind of like the old days of COD, back when we would just swipe with a knife. Instead of hitting somebody with our gun butt for a 2-hit kill, we would just automatically pull out our knife and swipe and get a 1-hit kill. That's essentially what you're getting out of this perk. Now for more details on this, let's first look at damage. It turns out with this, you just inherit whatever damage your melee weapon that's on your class is going to deal as if you were to pull that melee weapon out and hit your enemy. And this is based on the standard attack, not the charged attack with that weapon, because we can't do charged attack in this case without pulling out our melee weapon first. But what this means is if you have a 2-hit kill melee weapon on your class, it's still going to take you 2 hits with this perk. Whereas a 1-hit kill melee weapon is going to allow you to kill in 1 hit, so obviously, at least for core game modes, you're going to want to make sure you're pairing this perk with a 1-hit kill melee weapon. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless because you can already get a 2-hit kill with the butt of your gun. Now, when it comes to range, instead of inheriting the range of the melee weapon that you have on your class, it's actually fixed to the same range value as the butt of your weapon, which is not bad at all. It's 2.2 meters. And what this means is for every melee weapon aside from the bow staff, you're actually getting a better lunge range on this compared to pulling out the melee weapon first and then trying to use it. In the case of the bow staff, you are losing 0.1 meters because it has a 2.3 meter lunge range by default. But outside of that exception, you're actually getting a buff to the melee weapon if you use it with this perk and you attack with a gun in your hands rather than pulling out the melee weapon first and then attacking. So that's interesting. If you really want to level up one of these melee weapons, for instance, maybe you're grinding camos on it, if it doesn't have a very good lunge range, let's just say like the Psy, for instance, it only has a 1.6 meter range based on my testing if you pull them out first, but with this perk, now you get the same damage, but a 2.2 meter range. That's a pretty big buff to the Psy. But moving on to some more of the details here, when it comes to our pre-hit delay, or how much time it takes from the moment you initiate the attack to the moment you get a hit on the enemy player, this stat is going to be inherited from the melee weapon that you're using. Now, in practical terms, basically all of the 1-hit kill melee weapons are going to have a pre-hit delay of about 250 milliseconds. So there's not much difference between them, but it is worth noting they all will hit a little bit faster than if you were just using the butt of your weapon. And in the case of the power drill, for instance, that's got a really short pre-hit delay, and that's going to be a big benefit over just using the butt of your gun. But then again, still going to be a 2-hit kill, so probably not your best bet in core modes. Additionally, another stat I like to look at with melee weapons, since I find it to be important in some scenarios at least, is how long it takes to get 2 hits. So the time between 2 hits. This is not the most important stat for a 1-hit kill melee, but it does apply in situations where maybe you melee a bit too soon, or you miss your melee on the first one and you need to recover and then melee again. Or maybe there's 2 enemies standing side by side and you want to try to kill both of them. In those cases, the 2-hit melee speed is important. And it turns out with this perk, this is once again inherited from the melee weapon itself. And as a result, looking at something like the bow staff, this has a really slow 2-hit melee speed, and therefore that, combined with the fact that we have a slower pre-hit delay, and in this case it's the only one that actually loses a bit of range when using this perk, we definitely don't want to be using the bow staff if we're using this perk. But with the Kali sticks, for instance, we have a really short 2-hit kill speed at just 330 milliseconds. So you're getting some nice benefits there, since with the standard gun butt, this 2-hit delay is 625 milliseconds. Now again, the Kali sticks aren't a 1-hit kill melee, so you probably still don't want to be using those, at least in core game modes. But this is just for an example to show that you can gain the benefits of the 2-hit melee time from the melee weapon itself. But then finally, there's one last stat that I wanted to talk about here, and this is something I don't normally cover with melee weapons because it's not really relevant until we're talking about this case. And this is your recovery time, or how long your gun is down for and unable to be fired when you initiate a melee attack. This one is quite relevant when you're using the butt of your gun to attack, because you often want to melee somebody and then get your gun back up and shoot somebody else. And in the case of using your gun butt, your gun will be unavailable for about 825 milliseconds. When you're swiping with any one of these melee weapons, it appears to be exactly the same for all of them. This is 950 milliseconds of downtime. So this is actually a very small downside with using this perk, is when you melee somebody, it's going to take a little bit longer before you can fire a shot. It's not a huge difference, but in a gunfight, every millisecond can count, so this can be the type of thing that gets you killed. And there we go, that's pretty much it when it comes to the details of exactly how this works, the pros and cons of this. Now I just wanted to share which melee I think is best to pair with this perk if you are going to be using this perk. And in my eyes, if you're going for peak performance with this perk, I would go with the knife, the katanas, or maybe the sai as well. And the reason behind this is all of these are a one-hit kill melee, so you're gaining that really nice benefit here. You can get that one-hit melee without having to swap to your melee weapon first. With these, you're also gaining about a half meter of range compared to pulling these melee weapons out first and then using them. You also get a faster pre-hit delay with all of these compared to the butt of your gun. And the nice big benefit in general with using this perk is you can do this with just regular play. You don't have to plan in advance to pull out your melee weapon and then attack a player. You can just straight up attack them instantly while in a fight. So those are the three main ones that I'd go with if I'm going for peak performance, but at the end of the day, any of the one-hit kill melee weapons aside from the bow staff are going to be great choices paired with this perk. And now that we have all that out of the way, I did want to share just my final thoughts on this perk. Overall, I think it's a really interesting idea to have a perk like this and bring back the traditional melee. I think it's a cool utility option for sure. And I think it's also great if you're grinding camos on certain melee weapons because, like I said, you're gaining some actual benefits over pulling out the melee weapon and using it as a dedicated melee. However, in saying all of that, with regular play, I do consider this to be a very niche perk. And as cool as it is, it's not deserving of a tier 1 perk slot. And this has always been one of my biggest issues with the general perk structure in Black Ops 6. In my eyes, none of the red perks in Tier 1 really compete with what I consider to be the playstyle defining perks, which are Ghost, Ninja, and Flak Jacket. And this perk is no exception to that. It's a utility perk that's very helpful in some very specific situations that you may run into from time to time, but comparing that with something like Ghost, Ninja, or Flak Jacket, those perks are helping you constantly throughout a match. Those are saving your life so much. Whereas Close Shave, as much as I think it's a cool perk and I'd like to use it, I'm never really going to be selecting that over Ghost, Ninja, or Flak Jacket unless I'm grinding camos on certain melee weapons. And I find that to be really unfortunate. I'd love to have a great playstyle defining red perk in the tier 1 slot that actually competes properly with those others that I've mentioned, because I really like the idea of the Enforcer combat specialty, for instance, but in my eyes, it's just not worth sacrificing Ghost, Ninja, or Flak Jacket. So if this perk were in a different tier, I think I would maybe use it from time to time at least, but as it is right now, I don't see myself ever picking this. Now, of course, these are just my thoughts on the Close Shave perk in Black Ops 6, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you guys feeling about this perk and how they've balanced it? And also, do you see yourself ever using this over many of the others in the tier 1 perk slot? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.